Good morning. Welcome to the forecast discussion for Monday, July 31st, 2017. It's currently 11 a.m. We have quite a few things to talk about today. For the most part, the weather around here is pretty quiet, and it's going to be quiet for much of this week with rather comfortable weather conditions for this time of year. Temperatures pretty much averaging near to maybe slightly below normal, but overall pretty comfortable, especially when you have dew points in the upper 50s to lower 60s. Now that is something in July, last day of July, that you have to celebrate. It's absolutely beautiful out there and very comfortable. Taking a look at the infrared satellite picture, pretty much high and dry out there. We do have a weak trough that is moving through the Great Lakes. Won't really impact our area whatsoever. And then we have a cold front up here over Canada that will move through on Wednesday as a weak trough, producing a few isolated showers and thunderstorms. Not really looking at much rainfall for this week at all, but we will see a series of weak cold fronts move through. That will knock us right back down to below normal temperatures and very low humidity by the time we get to this weekend. So that's something to certainly look forward to. Now, we have a tropical storm. It's currently moving right over Florida. It's expected to become a depression pretty soon because it is moving right over Florida. It was named a tropical depression at 5 a.m. It was named a tropical storm at 8 a.m. with sustained winds of 45 miles per hour. Now, I was online today on Twitter, and I have some problems with this, okay? Now, technically, I just got observations in one location in Sarasota, Florida, where for about 2 minutes we hit 39 miles per hour, which is technically at tropical storm strength. Here are my problems with this setup, okay? Is that you named a tropical storm, and yet as you head in, you do it based on winds that via the Doppler radar 4,500 to 6,500 feet above the surface. And then you took that wind measurement and you brought it down to 40 knots, taking 80% via wind friction and so on and so forth. Okay, I understand this process being used when you're dealing with a lack of observations. Now remember, a tropical storm is max sustained winds using US 1 minute average ranging from 39 miles per hour to 73 miles per hour. They based this increase in naming this tropical storm based on the radar data, which again, I get. I understand what they're trying to do here. My problem here is that when they named this tropical storm this morning, there was literally no data whatsoever to support naming this a tropical storm. None. There was none. You had radar-based data, but you couldn't confirm it with surface data. There was not one buoy or not one observation. There still isn't one observation via official National Weather Service data to support a 40 mile per hour wind. Okay? There isn't one buoy data. I looked at every one of these buoys. Not one was sustained 40 mile per hour winds or 39 mile per hour winds. Nothing. We take a look at the buoys out in the Gulf of Mexico. Nothing near this circulation supported winds of tropical storm strength. Certainly tropical depression strength. Now, for the case of being completely open, we finally, it was brought to my attention via Twitter, we had via a Mesonet, which is not official, but it's still, you can use it. At Mesonet, you had one observation at 10:40 a.m. of 39.1 miles per hour. Now, this is 30 feet up in the air, so it's a little interesting to see how this is set up here. But stated that, could you use it? Sure. Are they probably going to use this lone observation at 39.1 miles per hour? Probably. This is probably what they're going to use the justification for naming this a tropical storm. All right, but I'm noticing a very troubling trend from National Hurricane Center. We had our first A storm, which even in the discussions, it was admitted that if not for satellite data, um, in which was very marginal, it wouldn't have been named. So that's one. Then we had our B storm, which wasn't even tropical. It was a cold core low. And then at the very last moment, it became subtropical and barely not even a tropical storm, which was named. But it was named when it was a cold core storm. So what I'm noticing here is a jumping to name storms. And I wonder if this is a Sandy effect, in that there is such a concern to get notification out to people that we're jumping the gun on these distinctions. And it's a bit of a cry wolf scenario here that I'm worried about, in that we continue to jump the gun with the naming of these tropical low pressure systems that last less than 6 hours. And then when we actually get an actual storm or an actual hurricane, people aren't going to take it seriously because of a cry wolf scenario here. This is a tropical depression, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? Any other, if we go back 5 years, even 3 years ago, this would have been a tropical depression, not a tropical storm. Okay? Let's just be clear here, okay? So, could you technically call this tropical storm? You know what? If they upgraded at 1040 or at 1050, saying, hey, it reached tropical storm strength, I'd have less of an issue here. But the fact of the matter is that you had to wait. It named it at 8 a.m. with no observational data to support it. And you had to wait all the way till 10:40 a.m. for one observation in all of Western Florida and all of the Gulf of Mexico to support naming this storm. So that's kind of my pet peeve here. And that, this thing's coming in, is clearly a tropical depression for the rest of the region, aside from one area of wind around Sarasota right here. And again, I'd have less of an issue with this whole scenario if they had named this a tropical storm at 10:40 a.m. Because ahead of this, there was no data to support this. And I wanted to wait. I waited on this video. I was ready to make this video at about 9 a.m. But I'm like, you know what? Let me play this out for the sake of being completely open and clear until 11 a.m. and see what happens with this tropical storm. And were we going to get one observation? And we got one observation from a mesonet, not even the official National Weather Service observation, but one from a mesonet, which we're going to use, we're going to verify, which finally gave you one observation of sustained winds at 39.1 miles per hour. It barely scraped by, and it's right over the core of this warm core low pressure system, which uniquely, by the way, was actually producing frequent lightning strikes. Take a look at this. You had frequent lightning strikes, which is kind of rare for a tropical low pressure system. Usually you don't see a lot of lightning strikes in warm core low pressure systems. So I'm taking the time here just to discuss this because I think it's important. I think it's a discussion that we need to have as meteorologists, and we need to question some of this stuff, okay? Because it's my concern that we are calling wolf way too much, and it's going to lead to a scenario where people are not going to take these storms seriously. They're not going to take the warning seriously, and then we're going to be in trouble. And I don't think that naming these storms, naming this storm in particular, was warranted or a good idea as we move forward. So, and that's just my opinion. What we have here is basically a tropical depression that formed along a cold front that is going to be sheared apart by strong winds aloft. As far as the forecast, moving on, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments and a lot of blowback on this. I know, but sometimes you have to stand up for something that you just think it just needs to be said, So, and I'm being honest. Hey, we did find one one observation. So the National Hurricane Center likely is going to hang their hat on that observation. But I don't like what I'm seeing here, and it needs to be discussed because it is a concern. As far as the forecast is concerned, we do have high pressure in control for today. Look for highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast, mid 80s in the Delaware River Valley. Overnight tonight, scattered cloud cover is expected, with winds veering to the southwest at around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Look for lows in the mid 60s. For tomorrow afternoon, scattered cloud cover. I can't rule out an isolated shower over the northern interior, but I think for the most part we're dealing with dry weather conditions with high temperatures in the lower to mid 80s along the coast and mid to upper 80s in the Delaware River Valley. On Wednesday, we'll have a threat for a few isolated showers and thunderstorms, generally in the afternoon or early evening hours. Otherwise, look for scattered cloud cover. Look for lows in the mid to upper 60s, highs in the lower to mid 80s along the coast, and mid to upper 80s in the Delaware River Valley. On Thursday, the first of several cold fronts will be moving through the region, again with a threat for isolated to widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. I'm not looking for anything severe at this time, though. Look for lows in the upper 60s to lower 70s, highs in the lower to mid 80s along the coast, and mid to upper 80s in the Delaware River Valley. On Friday, another cold front will approach the region and move through with some widely scattered isolated showers and thunderstorms. Most likely it's going to show up more as a trough than anything else by Friday afternoon. Look for lows in the lower 70s, highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast, and mid to upper 80s in the Delaware River Valley. On Saturday, a stronger cold front will move through with more widespread scattered showers and thunderstorms. Look for lows in the lower 70s, highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast, and lower 80s in the Delaware River Valley. On Sunday, high pressure will take control with clearing skies. Look for lows in the mid 60s, highs in the mid to upper 70s along the coast, and upper 70s to lower 80s in the Delaware River Valley. And on Monday, high pressure is in place with scattered cloud cover, lows in the lower to mid 60s, highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s. That is your forecast discussion for today. Thank you for following NYNJPA weather, and as always, stay safe out there.